going on, everyone? Talk about a wild offseason already, and we haven't even reached the draft and then free agency and when all of the craziness and madness starts happening. So this has been incredibly shocking. But we got breaking news that Chris Paul has been traded to the Golden State Warriors in a very surprising move. So they basically fleeced the Warriors for Chris Paul. The Warriors are sending Jordan Poole, Ryan Rollins, 2030 first-round pick, and 2 second-round picks for Chris Paul. I guess technically you could look at it as like this is what their return was for Bradley Beal. For the Washington Wizards, this makes all the sense in the world. Now you have Tyus Jones and you have Jordan Poole. Your backcourt is basically locked up for the future. They probably keep Kyle Kuzma. Now you got this nice little core 3 guys that you can use to build for the future. Maybe you keep Daniel Gafford. Maybe you trade him and unload him. I mean, this is a great return. For the Warriors, though, I don't know how much sense this makes, right? If Chris Paul is willing to come off the bench, then sure, that makes all the sense in the world. But is he willing to do that? And according to Chris Haynes, the Warriors are not waiving Chris Paul. They plan on keeping Chris Paul. Now, you can look at this as like, this is a low-risk, high-reward type move, right? You basically get Chris Paul. If it works, you're probably winning an NBA championship. If it doesn't work, then you can just get rid of him and you're good, right? Win-win, all is right, and the world keeps spinning, right? And now you can kind of retool, revamp, do whatever you want. But if he wants to start, then that just becomes really awkward because now you're going to go Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and Kevon Looney, right? And maybe Draymond comes off the bench because you'd imagine that they're going to re-sign Draymond, or are they going to let Draymond go? Is this the beginning of them kind of hitting the reset button, right? You let Draymond walk, so his salary is gone. Chris Paul, his money falls off the books next year. Well, he has a non-guaranteed, so you just waive him and all is right in the world, right? His money's gone. If you win a championship, you just keep him, or maybe you work on a new deal to maybe sign him for a couple more years, something like that, right? That works. Do they trade Klay Thompson now? Is that what the Warriors look at? Do the Warriors go, okay, we got Chris Paul, put Steph at the 2, and now you end up trading Klay Thompson? I don't know. I mean, there's got to be more to this idea than just Chris Paul. They traded an absolute. You're telling me you couldn't have gotten a better trade for Jordan Poole than Chris Paul? I mean, you couldn't have just swapped Jordan Poole for Chris Paul, right? Like you couldn't have just, said, hey, here's Jordan Poole. You get a young, shooting guard, point guard for your foreseeable future and give us Chris Paul. Like, that would have been a haul in and of itself. But no, instead they gave up assets on top of that where you probably could have went and got several pieces or even just a bunch of draft compensation. It just doesn't make sense for the Warriors, in my opinion, right? Like Chris Paul could make sense and a lot. If he's willing to come off the bench, then that could be a great move for them. They needed to get rid of Jordan Poole at this point. Trading Jordan Poole doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all. But it's the return that they got for Jordan Poole is what surprises me. This is almost a salary dump type move. That's what this looks like. Now, that doesn't mean that they will, but that's usually these type of deals that get done this way are usually salary dump deals. Now, the reason I'm talking about this on a Lakers channel is because obviously this affects the Lakers. A lot of reports, countless reports, talked about how the Lakers were planning on signing Chris Paul, and Chris Paul was heading to the Lakers, and all was right in the world, and the Lakers were going to get Chris Paul as their point guard. Well, if you get Chris Paul as your point guard, now you're making all kinds of different moves, different trades, different this, different that, right? What do you do with D'Lo? Now you don't have to worry about the backup role. Like, there's just so many things that go into play if you get Chris Paul as your point guard. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are very happy about this situation based on, the videos that I've talked about and the community posts and all that stuff that I've posted. Many people really didn't want Chris Paul. And to a degree, I understand it, his age and concerns and injury concerns and stuff. So I completely get that. It's just, my logic was, you get a 38-year-old just basketball savant who you get on a vet minimum deal if he gets waived, right? Like, a lot of people had the same concerns about Rajon Rondo, and that led to an NBA championship. Chris Paul is much better than Rajon Rondo was when Rondo was on the Lakers. Again, the big concern is Chris Paul getting hurt, but the guy wouldn't have to be the second option on the Lakers. He also wouldn't have to play 40-plus minutes a game, which is going to be good for him and the Warriors because he's not going to have to play 40 minutes a game. He's probably coming off the bench. I'm really curious to see what the Warriors do from here because there's got to be more things coming for the Warriors. The Warriors either are in a direction to where they're going to break up the big three, and very likely Chris Paul is like the Draymond Green replacement, which very well could be the case, right? He could, like, they might end up, maybe they know they're losing Draymond Green, right? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the Warriors know they're losing Draymond Green, or they're willing to let him go, and Chris Paul is that replacement, right? You keep him for a year. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, then you just waive him and you let him go elsewhere, right? Like that. So, I mean, to that extent, I guess it makes sense for the Warriors to land Chris Paul. But the position fit is the concern. I mean, the Warriors have always been small, but now are you going to go like teeny tiny? Is that like your plan? And Klay Thompson isn't the same Klay Thompson. Like if Klay Thompson was prime Klay Thompson, I would say the Warriors are probably winning the NBA championship, right? Because Klay Thompson could play the three in his prime and play it efficiently, effectively. I mean, he was an elite defender, lights out three-point shooter. You put Chris Paul next to prime Klay Thompson and this version of Steph Curry, good luck beating that team. Who cares if they don't have a center at that point, right? Like, but I don't. Chris Paul as a Draymond Green replacement makes a world of sense, but it doesn't make sense for them because Chris Paul is, 6 foot, 6'1", rather than Draymond Green at 6'8", right? That's a big difference there. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what the Warriors do. And again, for the Lakers, like it changes a lot potentially, right? Because the Lakers very likely had the idea of like Chris Paul's coming, right? So we're going to make adjustments. We're going to do things accordingly to make moves with the idea Chris Paul is coming. Right? Kind of the news that was circulating. That was kind of the headlines and the direction in which the Lakers were going. I mean, even The Athletic reported like plan A for the Lakers was to sign Chris Paul and re-sign Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves. And now Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves they'll get re-signed. I'm not worried about that. That will still happen. But how do the Lakers pivot if that was really their plan A, right? And I think Chris Paul would have made a significant impact on the Lakers because you get a guy that can provide a lot of what LeBron provides when LeBron is not on the court. That has always been a problem for all teams LeBron has been on, is when he's off the court, the production drops tremendously. And the Lakers, this adaptation of the Lakers was a lot better, but they still had their inefficiencies, right? Where Chris Paul, I think, would have fixed a lot of that and would have changed a lot of that. I think he would have had that impact. So now, can you find that impact? What do you do with D'Lo? Does this basically lock in the fact that the Lakers are going to re-sign D'Lo? Does something else happen? Like what ends up being the evolution of the Lakers this year? And all these teams around them continue to get better. The Lakers are going to have to keep up, right? Like the Lakers stand pat. I know that they were just in the Western Conference Finals, but you look at teams like the Celtics, like I think they're going to be better. I don't know how much better because I do think the loss of Marcus Smart really hurts, but they just got a 22-point-a-game guy. They basically got a souped-up version of Al Horford. And we know how great Al Horford's been for the Celtics, and they were just in the Western Conference Finals, right? So they got better. Chris Paul, if they can make it work, Chris Paul's going to make the Warriors better. He is, because it's going to be Chris Paul. He's going to have such an easy time. He's never had shooters like this around him, right? Like the looks and the setup and all that stuff, like they just got better, right? The Suns, as unsold as I am on the Suns, they still have Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. They're still going to be very good. So, look, I trust Rob. I believe in Rob. I believe in the Lakers organization. I'm sure that they're going and have things cooking, right? Rob loves to move in silence, right? Rob loves to operate and do things when you least expect it. All of a sudden, out of left field, bam, here you go. Here's some crazy trade, and maybe something happens, right? I mean, Lakers traded up for the 40th pick, which is not the blockbuster we're waiting for. And I don't even necessarily think the Lakers have to make a blockbuster move, right? I don't think they have to go and get, a Trae Young or a Damian Lillard or something like that. Like, would that be nice? Sure, but I don't think that is necessary. I think if they could get a Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, I think that puts them on par with all these other teams because they would be one of the best and deepest teams in the league at that point, right? So I don't necessarily think the Lakers have to just push all their chips to the table and go get another star to keep up, but I do think that they need to make some sizable, reasonable moves that go, okay, like that definitely makes the Lakers better, right? That's what I think needs to happen, but it's going to be interesting. Again, I trust and believe in Rob Pelinka. I know he'll figure it out and make things work one way or another. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? What do you think of this move? Are you bummed? Are you happy? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments